Welcome to Creative Pages with Catherine. I'm Catherine. Thank you so much for joining me in New Mexico on another stop in the Thrift Flip Road Trip hosted by Our Green Acres and the Crafting Cousins. Today's project is going to be a cha-cha-cha quilt-inspired gift box where I'm going to repurpose another one of our Creative Memories blank card kit boxes. I have so many of these. I use them pretty much every month in my crops, and I just love repurposing these into the gift boxes. I mean, it's almost as common in my house as toilet paper to have the blank card kits. It's a little bit amusing. We are going to be using our Totally Tonal red and orange duo designer paper pack. And we do have a special going on right now with the Totally Tonal papers. If you purchase 8 or more packs of our Totally Tonal papers or products, we do have some border stickers that are on this collection as well. Before April 12th of 2022, you will get a prismatic paper and sticker pack with it. So you can check out my website in the description box below for details on that. And I also will have a link to the playlist for the road trip so you can check out all of the other wonderful stops along the road trip. With that said, let me show you what we're going to be using today on our project. I have some scraps from other projects that I've used because using up scraps is one of my favorite things to do. I have 4 sheets from the Totally Tonal paper pack, the red and orange duo, and this is the opposite side of each of the pages that I'm going to be using. And then I also have a sheet of our crimson cardstock and a sheet of our firecracker cardstock, again, that are scraps. And I just love being able to use up my scraps. I usually use them for cards, but I thought, why not use it for this fun project on the road trip? So let's go ahead and get started. Let me see first if I have 6.5 inches. Nope, on that end we can't do that, but I can do we need 4 3/4 by 6.5 inches for a cardstock base for the top of our box this time. The last time I cut more into like sections of strips, and this time we're going to have a lot of smaller pieces. So what I'm doing is creating a base to cover the entire top of the box just to make life easier for all of us. So 6.5 by 4 3/4 is what I am cutting this piece of cardstock to use to adhere as our base. And then we need to cut some of our designer paper, and I'm going to stack 2 of the pieces. You know what, these two look really bright and cheerful, and they go really well together. So we're going to do the sides of our box in oranges this time. And I think that's going to be just fantastic for maybe a birthday gift or a welcome new baby gift. I actually have a baby gift I need to put together soon. Let's see here. We need 4 3/4 cut into a strip. No, actually, I'm sorry. We need to do 1 3/4. And then we're going to cut it at the 4 3/4. Because these are going to be for our sides of our box. And we need 4 at 4 3/4. And we're going to need 4 at the 6.5. So we're going to do 2 strips first. Actually, we need to do... we're going to do 1 6.5 and 1 4 3/4 from each, because we have 4 sides to each box, and then we're doing it for both the top and the bottom this time. So we do need to try to do 4 strips out of our scraps. Let's see if we can get there. If not, we will just add in some more. So we need, there's 2, So that'll do the two, oh yeah, that'll do the two sides on the top and the two sides on the bottom. There we go. Sometimes the math makes my brain stick. I like the creative part so much more, and then I have to make sure that I make really good notes on the math part of it. So what did I say? We need 1 6.5 and 1 4 3/4. So let's go ahead and do our 6.5. And then let's do our 4 3/4. There's 4 3/4. And again, these are 2 sheets stacked together. I just kind of wanted to make our cutting a little bit smoother. So see here, we have both for our 2 sides of our top, and then we'll get the 2 sides of the bottom here next. And we'll do our 6.5 again. Oops, I gotta make sure these are lined up though. Here's 6.5. And 4 3/4. Oops. Stay together for me, paper. I don't know if talking to it helps, but it can't hurt, right? But again, maybe not. Okay, here we go. Now we're ready for 4 3/4. Here's 4 3/4. I'm just gonna line it up here along my other cutting line. That's where it's gonna work. That's where it's gonna work. Okay. Let me double check because my sheet was off just a little bit at the end there. There we go. We're fine. Okay, so we have the sides of our boxes cut. And now we need to cut our strips for our top design. So exciting. So I'm gonna take the same sheets that we just cut, and then I've got these other 2 sheets, so we'll be doing out of both of them so we can have just a really bright and colorful design. We'll be using both sides of the sheets of paper. We need to cut it at 1.5 inches here. So I'm going to cut this one first, and then I have these other 2 sheets that I am also going to stack, and I'm also going to cut 1.5 inches off of this one as well. And this, you know, it has both the red and the oranges to it. So let's go ahead and cut these at 1.5 inches as well. This is our second set of our 2 pages, and I'm trying to get this to line up nicely for me, and it's not cooperating. So you know what? I'm just going to do these one at a time because I'd much rather have them straight and even. So there's one, and here's the second one. And you can use either side of your trimmer for this. In fact, I will just show you real quick because we have markings on both sides, and the inch marks are always darker on both sides, and then the other grid lines are each at 1/4 inch. So here's our 1.5 on this side, and you can see it's exactly the same as what we just cut our other piece. Here we go. And it's always 12 inches. So, all right, so we have 4 strips at 1.5 inches right now. I'm going to set my designer paper aside because we need 12 at 1/2 inch from each stack here. So each stack of 2, we're going to cut 1/2 inch, and our 1/2 inch is either side of our trimmer. So it's where the lines start. Remember I said the darker lines are 1 inch, and you go 1/4 inch in from each side, and it's 1/2 inch. So here we go. remember how I said I'm not always the best with the math part, but I'm good with the creative part? Well, we just need to cut those strips 6 times each because we need 24 of these little 1/2 inch by 1.5 inch pieces for the middle of our box. So I've cut enough for 2 boxes, which is fine because I have 2 boxes, but I will make sure that you all know you only need to cut 6. And we also are going to cut our Firecracker Shimmer cardstock here. We're going to cut it at 1/4 inch, which is the end of our gray strip here on our trimmer, because this is going to frame around our design in the center of the box. So here's a 1/4 inch strip. We need to turn it, and we need 2 strips at 4 3/4. So 4 and 1, 2, 3. Okay. There's 1, and here is 2. And then we also need some framing pieces for our project as well. And so we need to cut a 1.5 inch by 12 inch strip. So here's our 1 inch, there's 1.5, getting that lined up. So 1.5 inches by 12 inches. And then we need to turn it again at 90 degrees. And we need 4 strips cut to 1 1/8 inch and 4 strips cut to 3/4 inch. So 1 1/8 I'm going to do just at the top of my trimmer because it's a little bit of a fussy cut here. It runs in between our grid lines, and I just want to make sure that I am lining things up correctly here. And you'll probably notice that I don't always line things up at the top of my trimmer. The reason I do this is so that way I wear down my cutting mat a little bit more evenly. I can see where my dotted line is a little bit darker in places and where it's lighter in other places, so I know I've cut more in certain areas than others, and so this is why I line up my paper in different spots. I'm doing the 3/4 inch by, what is this, 1.5 inches? Yes, so 3/4 inch by 1.5 inches right now. And you will see how this all is going to work out for us in just a moment. So here's my 4th one of these. All right. And now we are done with our trimmers. You can go ahead and set it aside. But we're not ready for our box yet. We need to do our top first. And so I have 1 stack of the sheets I stacked, and here's my other stack of little strips. But the first things first, I'm going to grab my parchment board, which I don't think I showed in my last road trip video. The parchment board really helps a lot when working with our repositionable tape runner. The tape runner has a series of little dots in it, and it's fantastic because you can work on little pieces of punched pieces or just super small strips and not worry about placing them just super exactly. If you need to move them, it's really easy to maneuver. I have adhered my parchment to a sturdy piece of cardboard using electrical tape. And since, of course, we're not baking with this, we're crafting, The electrical tape holds the parchment in place, and it keeps our board from getting gooped up. Basically anything that doesn't, you know, if I wind up going off, if I had staples, it would stick to the staples. But since I have anything that doesn't, but since I don't have the staples, I don't have to worry about that. That's why I use the electrical tape. And essentially any of the little glue dots or the sticky dots that are in the repositionable tape runner stay in the tape runner once it hits the parchment paper. So if I have an intricate piece that I've punched out like this picket fence and I run over it with my repositionable tape, I can run over it and you can see where I have glue dots on my paper here. It's a little hard to see because it's a darker paper, but my glue dots are on my paper, but there's nothing on my parchment board, and what didn't get used has stayed now in the tape runner. So it's just such a handy thing to have around, and I use it in pretty much almost all of my crafting, paper crafting videos here. We are just going to take a little bit of our repositionable tape. I'm going to run it along the edge here a bit, also along the top and the bottom. And like I said, it doesn't matter if I go off with a sheet because it's the parchment boards underneath it. We are going to place our border pieces first. And so I'm going to place this is the firecracker shimmer we had, and you can see where I'm just manipulating it a bit to get it lined up. And that's really nice there. Here we go on our other side. And again, just making sure to get it lined up, and it really doesn't matter if I don't have it lined up perfectly. I can pick it up and manipulate it, no problem. I'm going to need to trim it just a hair, and I'm going to use my micro tip scissors because these scissors have just a little bit of a coating on them, and so it doesn't matter if I have the tape runner on the pieces of paper, nothing sticks to these things. It inevitably sticks to my fingers before it sticks to those micro tip scissors. They are fantastic. They're my favorite go-to pair of scissors when I'm doing crafting like this. Just because I know it's not going to get gooped up. So now I'm taking my 1 1/8 inch and 3/4 inch strips, and I'm lining them across the top and the bottom here of our top, what's going to be the top of our box. Just going across. Well, okay, I'm going to have to move that in just a hair, and then I'm going to wind up trimming my cardstock just a little bit. Although with it all being the red, that's partially why I also chose the crimson. There we go. I'll just move that in a little bit. Repositionable tape to the rescue again. And so now I'm going to stagger this and put the 3/4 inch opposite the 1 1/8 inch on the page here, because we are going to have this cha-cha design is a staggered design. So much fun. Here we go. All right. So now I'm going to also take and put just a little bit of the repositionable tape going across my part that's showing again to place my strips that we cut. And here we go. I just want to make sure that I lightly stick each strip down because we are going to be using the varnish again to adhere this entire piece. But honestly, we need just something a little bit less, I guess, intrusive, just to kind of act as a placeholder for us. So now I am going to check my design here, and I want to make sure I have kind of a staggered design coming up. Let's see. What's the other side of this paper here? So I've got 4 of those, and I'm going to find 4 from this stack here. And we're going to show both sides of the paper. So this is the opposite of that one. That's the same, so this is the opposite. We have our 8 pieces that we're going to start with because we have our different designs. And we are going to go ahead and lay 6 of these going down each row. So you want to mix them up as you go. And I'm just starting with the same stack starting out, so that way I know the next row I can mix it up and do the other stack first. So we have different pieces next to each other as we go across. I'm actually going to put this one down here so we have our white spaced out a little bit more. And here's our red piece. Ooh, let me pick that up because that's why we have the repositionable tape. We want these as close as possible. And if you want to make your life easier, you can also grab your multi-purpose tool, which I might wind up doing here. There we go. So those are close and snug. This is going to be close and snug. And the last one is going to be close and snug as well. There we go. So we have our row of 6. And now, so we have these 2 left over. We're going to go ahead and start our next row with those 2. And then we know we need to go ahead and get another set of the 4 from this side. Let's see here. This is the opposite of this one, so we need that, and we need this one. Okay, so that's 4 there. Here's this one. The opposite is this design. So we have 2, and what is this, orange? And 2. And since we started over here, we're going to start over here this time. Actually, no, we should start over here again because we want to... No, we don't want to do the same thing. So let's see. Here we go. We're going to go ahead and mix it up a bit. So this entire row is going to be from this stack, and that's okay, because the next row we're going to start with the next stack. Whoops. And it's going to work out for us because we're not doing the same pattern. I'm just randomly picking up each of these strips, and I'm kind of looking at what the color is next to it a little bit and trying to add a slightly different hue going across if I can, and if not, that's okay. This one's crooked just a little bit here. Fix that, move this one up. All right, multi-purpose tool. Just makes life so much easier. Here we go. Just to lift that up, manipulate it super quick and easy. There we go. So now we need one more set. And here's that one. And the opposite is this one. Oops. Actually, that one looks a little bit crooked, so we're going to do that. Okay, and then we need this with this one, because we are using both sides of our designer paper. All of our designer papers have designs on both sides, which is fantastic. It makes it wonderful for doing a project like this, because then you're not really wasting paper. You're using both sides of it. And we are going to start over here again. Nope, we're going to start on the right again. How did we do that? Let's see here. We started here the first time, and then we went into this side, and so now we need to go back to this side. Okay. So we're going to go back to this side, and then that way we will have a really mixed up pattern here. Okay, let's mix these two so that way they're not directly next to each other. Well, it's kind of going to be directly next to each other. I guess that kind of makes it completely random, doesn't it? That one's crooked. Let me fix that real quick. Here we go. And now here we are finishing up our design. Okay. And here we are. Okay. So that's our top of our box, all done and ready to place on. Move this to the side. Like I said, I had done enough for 2 boxes, and you know, it's okay. So I'm going to bring out my trusty box I used the last time for my varnish because I don't want to get a bunch of varnish on my craft table. Go figure. So I've got my little bucket to keep put my varnish in again. I have another brush. Put some of this into here. I'm using just the Liquitex varnish. You can use Mod Podge as well if that's what you have on hand. Like I said, with the road trip, we are repurposing what we have or finding something at a thrift store to repurpose. And so I wanted to use what I had on hand as well as far as varnish went. So this is the bottom of my box. I'm going to go ahead and paint the side here. I'm going to put one of my strips towards the bottom because remember, again, the top part of the box is going to be covered or covering this bottom part. And then I'm going to go ahead and put a second layer of varnish over the top. And you just want to make it nice and thin. There we go. Turn my box here. And it's okay if your paper hangs over just a little bit. We can fix that with our scissors at the end. Let me see. I'm going to put a different paper next to my other one, and I said I was going to use the orange side, so that's what we're going to do. And it's just a hair bit long for this bottom, so I am going to wind up trimming just a little bit because apparently our top box is a little bit larger than the bottom box. Go figure. This is, like I said, math, not Catherine's thing as much. Fun designs and creativity, yes. So, all right, we have I'm going to match my sides here. So I'm going to put this other same checkered pattern on the bottom here, and then we'll do the other paper for the top. Okay. Straighten that out, just a little more varnish here. Nice long strokes. And if you need to straighten it a little, then just straighten it. If you want to wear gloves, go ahead and wear gloves. It really can go either way, however works easiest for you. I'm always trying to give people extra ideas of what to use and how to repurpose things because it's, you know, things cost money. Let's save a couple of dollars here and there if we can, and repurposing this box is a great way to do that. I just hate the thought of recycling it when it's such a sturdy box that we can use for a gift later. Okay. So I'm going to set this, I think, on just on the edge of my, whoops, maybe not. So much for not getting varnish on my craft table. That's okay. We're going to do the top anyways. We're going to get the sides first, and then we're going to place our top. because then I can leave it in my box easier here. So a little bit along the sides first. And these strips should fit a little bit better. I'm gonna do, this is kind of becoming, it's the opposite of what I did on the bottom, which is, I like the idea of showing the different papers again. And of course this one fits perfectly because I had measured primarily the top box, not thinking that the bottom of the box was a little bit smaller. Go figure. But it's okay. Paper is always fun because you can always fix it. There we go. I almost forgot to do my varnish over the top of this one. Nice layer. There we go. So that way it sticks down. Touch up our layer here. This is going on here. A little bit more towards the top, and I'm okay if there's a little bit of blue showing because the orange and the blue go together nicely. Really, I think almost anything goes with blue. And there's so many pretty papers in this totally tonal collection. You can pick from so many beautiful colors and take advantage of the promotion while it's going on. And then you'll have plenty of papers to do plenty of boxes to gift to your friends. All right, so now we're gonna go ahead and get our top piece put on. I'm just trying to put a nice even coat of varnish for the bottom here, so that way our entire cardstock base will stick down nicely. Here we go. Look at that. And I love that the firecracker shimmer just adds a little extra pop. We'll see how it looks under the varnish. I've never used varnish over a firecracker shimmer before, so this is going to be a learning project for me as well. All right, let's not pop up over here. There you go. I want you to stick down. So I'm just trying to kind of work with the strips, painting in the direction that they're going in, so that way everything is nice and even. Got a couple pieces sticking up. There we go. Varnish to the rescue a little bit with that because I didn't want to overdo the repositionable tape, knowing that our varnish was going to help hold things down a little bit as well. And I've got my corners popping up here just a little bit, so I'm sticking just a little bit under as well to help hold down our corners. And then I don't want too heavy of a layer on top here. I just want everything to be nice and smooth. And now we can set this aside to dry. And I will show you what it looks like at the end. We are done putting together our box. Let me get this other piece up here so that way it's off of my table, and I'm going to clean my table up. And I am going to go ahead and trim these edges on our bottom part of our box so that way our top part will be able to go on nice and smooth. So when I come back to you, I can show you the completed box. I'm so excited to be able to show you this finished project. Here it is. Here's our finished box. Our varnish is now dry. We have all of our sides with cute design. So I staggered it so that way we have one of the pages on each side, just to add a little more festivity to the box. I'm going to move my other box out of the way. and you can see where it just looks gorgeous. Our shimmer paper does show up with a slightly different texture. You can kind of tell that it's still a little bit shimmery. And I think this is just, it's such a fun project. I think somebody's really going to enjoy receiving this as a gift box. And there you go. I can get a nice big red or white bow to seal up my box when I give it to somebody as a gift. And I think they are going to love it. So thank you again to our Green Acres and the Crafting Cousins for hosting this road trip. I hope you have enjoyed your stop in New Mexico, and would love it if you subscribe to my channel, left me some comments, or even a thumbs up. Until next time.